Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, a space for the conversations and colors that help you see yourself more clearly. I'm Heather Eck, an intuitive artist and guide, and I believe your soul speaks in the ways the mind can't always put into words, through color, energy, and the stories your body holds. This show is where we explore those messages. Through personal stories, deep conversations, and creative insight, we'll uncover what's been hidden, release what no longer serves, and begin to imagine what's possible when you live in full alignment with who you're meant to be. What you hear here is more than inspiration, it's an opening, a chance to feel the shift that could change everything. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step into today's conversation. How do we bring more humanity to our work and to ourselves? Today we're talking compassion that actually changes culture and changes lives. And today I'm joined by the brilliant and big-hearted Amy Quesenberry, speaker, coach, and creator of the Start with Compassion framework. Amy's story begins with a rescue pup and a wake-up call, and it led her to build a practical approach to compassion that helps leaders, teams, and whole companies thrive. In this conversation, you'll hear how compassion isn't just being nice, it's a set of choices and skills that create safety, creativity, and real performance. Amy breaks down her framework, including one practice you can use today to quiet the inner critic, and she shares what's shifting in the workplace since COVID and why self-compassion has to come first. What you'll get from this episode are simple ways to silence the judger and stop the spiral of self-criticism, how compassionate leadership boosts engagement, productivity, and innovation, why boundaries and modeling healthy habits matter more than ever, and small, doable first step to bring compassion into your day. Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I am so excited to bring you this episode. My guest today is Amy Quesenberry. I met Amy through a really wonderful serendipitous way, which I'm sure we'll tell you about. Amy is on a mission to help make our world a more compassionate place. She is the Start with Compassion framework creator, a motivational speaker, an organizational development coach, co-host of the Infuse Compassion podcast, and co-creator of the Infuse Compassion into Companies conference. For over 20 years, she advised leaders and organizations on human capital, talent management, and organizational development. Amy has dedicated her career to guiding companies to use compassion to help leaders and employees achieve career performance and life fulfillment simultaneously. As a speaker, best-selling author, and coach, she now shares her decades of insight with businesses and audiences everywhere. I am so thrilled you said yes to being a guest today. Thank you so much, Amy. Tell us how you got your start with compassion. What is that story?
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. And thank you for having me as a guest. It's such a pleasure. It's such an honor. So there were a couple different starts here. 2019, we had just adopted a little doggie, and she had a really traumatic start into the world. Her story, according to the rescue people, is that she was left in an open courtyard at a house. The people moved and left her tied up, no food, no water, no shelter in September. And in San Diego, it can get pretty hot. But I don't care what the temperature is. Like, it's just not okay. So we end up adopting her, and we fell in love with her. And one night, she loves to lay on my chest. I don't have like human children. I only have doggy children, Little Pet and Koali. Koali is the one that I'm talking about right now. So Koali's laying on my chest, right? And I'm sitting there just thinking, this precious, precious being. I love her so much. And I thought, how could people do this? How is this possible? And I went to gratitude, because that's like one of my go-to. It's like, as soon as I find myself going into a dark place, hold on, what's the gratitude in this story? And the gratitude in this story is this incredible, the rescue agency, this rescue team that got the call from a neighbor who heard Koali crying and went and saved her. And she's not our first. She's the third rescue. And I volunteered at rescues, and I sat there and I thought, there are people that are doing incredible work all around the world. They are in their wheelhouse. You know what they need? They need money. That's what they need. And so I thought, Koali's cookies. Now, I'm not a baker, but I love to bake, and we entertain a lot. And people were telling me, Amy, you could make money off these cookies. These are ridiculous. Okay. Vegan, organic, gluten free. They're like, we're loving these. You can't even tell they're vegan, can't tell they're gluten free. And I'm like, Koali's cookies. And I'll put a donation to every time I sell any, I'm going to give a percentage to the domestic violence shelters, the food pantries, the animal rescues. Okay. So that was my big vision. That was my start. I get through about, I don't know, 4 or 5 bake sales, a good amount of money donated, but I end up developing a trigger finger in my thumb from scooping all the cookies that I made from scratch, like 100 at
Uh-huh.
a time, right? I'm done in the cookie business. Okay. Not to mention on top of working a full-time job. Okay. So, when you think about the ROI on that, yeah. So,
Right.
so here I am. I'm healing with my surgery on my thumb, and my husband and I are talking, and he's like, Amy, like, you're an HR expert. Why aren't you doing something that's in your wheelhouse? Like, I love the way you bake, but you're not a professional baker. Let's just get real, right? So here I am in corporate. I'm exhausted. This is part two. I'm exhausted. My whole world at work is, creating an optimal employee and client experience. That's my jam. I love to do it.
Mhm.
My employee experience was wilting.
Mm.
It was absolutely wilting. I was crying every day.
Oh.
I was a remote employee for 14 years. The only time I engaged with the world was when they sent me to a site. I wasn't spending time with my friends and family here. I just was not taking care of myself at all. I told my husband, I just need to take some time off. Okay. I ended up resigning from the company, which was really hard for people to believe because they were, Amy, you wear the shirt of this company. You bleed this company. So it was
Mhm.
really a shock when I gave the notice because nobody knew my struggle. I was in such shame in my personal failure that I could feel every day. So I took 3 months off. I'm not going to go apply for another job. I'm just going to be quiet. So I meditated, I prayed, I journaled most of the time in my backyard. And I sat with my little doggies and just listened and felt. And one day, over the past several months, it was a tapping, 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 start with compassion.
Mm.
Compassion. I'm like, what is this? What is this start with compassion? I tell a friend of mine who's an attorney, she goes, that's gold. You need to trademark that. So I did. Bill, tap, 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 start with compassion. I don't know what this means. Tap, 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 start with compassion. And then I'm out on my patio one day and I realized compassion is an acronym. Connected, open minded, moments, patience and perspective, awareness and acceptance. The first S is silence the judger. And then when we do something good, when we show up with all of those, we can do something good or think about doing something good, we start to get stimulated. That's the second S, right? So we think about doing something good, we start to feel stimulated, then we start to get interested, and then we start to get intentional. That's interested, the invested, and the intentional. That's the I. This is when we actually do it, whatever it is that we're thinking of doing it. Well, you do a good deed for yourself or somebody else, what happens? Dopamine and oxytocin starts firing off in your brain. Onward and upward, that's the O. But imagine if we committed to a lifestyle of showing up with compassion, first for ourselves, because you can't give what you don't have, and
Mhm.
then for the people around you. Imagine the world that we could create if we all showed up with just a little bit more compassion. And that's the N, new heights and horizons. So I created that in my backyard. And then I started talking about it with friends and family, people I trusted. And they were like, Amy, you need to get this into the world. And this was in 2022. And here we are now in 2025, and I'm speaking about it at conferences, in companies. And there's now our podcast, which is Infuse Compassion, right?
Hmm.
So if we look at it this way, we've got an umbrella that start with compassion. From that grew Infuse Compassion. And so that there it is. There's the two origin stories. Boom, boom.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that was a mic drop. I absolutely love a good acronym, and that one blew me away. And I also need to remember to ask you for the cookie recipe because they sound delicious. Koali's cookies. That is such an incredible story, especially because I feel like you had to undergo your own experience with compassion for yourself. I love that you said you felt like wilted. You were lacking the water that you needed to feel like you could be vibrant. And so you had compassion for yourself. You took a step away and then created this framework that offers a new way of seeing things and a new way of approaching things and engaging with people. How have you been able to take this framework into spaces and teach it to people? And what are some of the ways you've seen people, organizations change after they learn how to use compassion?
I love that question. There's two pieces, the pieces of the puzzle that I see in a workplace and that I've seen this evolve and grow and transform is leaders in an organization to show up as compassionate leaders, that servant leader that we've been hearing about since the
Mhm.
70s, right? And then there's the self-compassion. Just to go back to my story, that's what was missing. I had a lot of compassionate leaders at the company that I worked at, but I didn't have self-compassion for me. I wasn't nurturing my soul. You've got to have the two to come together. An employee can't expect their leader, their organization, their company to do everything. The employee and their manager are both accountable for creating a healthy environment at work. Every employee is responsible for creating the culture. Everything we say it, everything we do, how we do it, what we don't say and do, this all impacts the culture of an organization,
Mhm.
right? So what I've seen is I've seen people stop and say, I never realized how I wasn't showing up for myself and how as a result, I wasn't being a good role model for my team. Just think about that for a second,
Mhm.
right? Think about the pressure that team members may feel. And I've heard employees say this. I love my manager so much. I want to be here to support her or him. The loyalty can sometimes be fierce. And so when we have a leader that's working ridiculous hours, what kind of pressure is that putting on the team? Instead of
Mhm.
saying, yes, this is important, but I need healthy boundaries because I want to come here refreshed tomorrow. And I want my team to come here refreshed tomorrow. So there's that light bulb that goes off. And then there's also I never realized that I wasn't showing up curious. I never realized that I wasn't empowering my teams. And it's interesting, this isn't always the case, but a lot of time, because I do coaching as well, the difference that I see a lot of times with men, the transformation is they become more compassionate leaders, like really being present and listening and really saying, okay, I need to get out of my head and stop thinking about what they're saying, silence the judger, and I need to be present and listen to what they're saying and hear them and be here with them. That's the transformation that I'm seeing with men. With
Mhm.
women, I'm seeing I give to everybody but me. And I just need to like I love you all, but I need to there has to be a line in the sand and I'm the one that's going to put it in there. And I
Mhm.
know that if I water my soul first, I think that's a phrase I heard you say. If I water my soul first, then I'm going to be able to, my cup is going to be overflowing. And imagine what a
Mhm.
better leader I'm going to be, what a better partner. So, this is some of the transformations that I've seen. And then what happens is it's a healthier culture.
Mhm.
So we see productivity increase, we see engagement increase, we see the employee performance. You know what else we see? Creativity and innovation. Because when people feel safe, they show up as their best. You will get the best out of your people if you can help them feel safe and heard and show them that they matter.
Mhm. That is so true. It's interesting to hear what you're talking about with the transformation you see men undergo and women undergo. It makes me think about these ideas of the masculine and the feminine at work. And the masculine is, gender aside, the divine masculine is the thinking, the logic, the action, like the push energy. And the divine feminine is the allowing, the asking, the listening, and a little bit of a softer energy. And a lot of times when there's discomfort in the workspace, it's because if you are living too much in the divine masculine and not allowing the feminine in,
Mhm.
things start to get out of balance. And so you're trying to find this middle ground where you can go, hold on. We're all just people here. Let's just all take a step back and try to listen to each other and not have this environment that's so go, 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 push, push, push. But slow down and get curious, ask each other questions, find out what made you make that decision or what led you to do that thing. To me, feels like that's been a big shift in the workplace over the last few years. I would say even since COVID, that's
Mhm.
changed quite a bit. You and I both come from human resource backgrounds where we get to really be in the mix of everything, all of the hiring and decisions, training and development decisions. What have you seen shift in the workspace since COVID? Because I imagine a lot has changed since then with remote working, trying to draw that line in the sand to give people stronger boundaries and to help them feel more supported at work, to have a bit more compassion for one another. Have you noticed anything that's changed there?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that employees are not willing to tolerate unhealthy behavior.
Mhm.
I'm really seeing a huge shift, especially generations that are younger. They, I'm seeing that they're willing to go without. They're willing to like the status, the whatever it is. Like the draw of the job. Like if I've got to put up with this, it's not worth it.
Oh, wow.
It's just not worth it. And so companies that are behaving, I'll call it less than,
Mhm.
right? They're going to really struggle to get employees that are willing to stay and tolerate the behavior. The bottom line is that our employees deserve better. Okay.
Mhm.
Our clients, they deserve better. And we're not going to be able to give them better if we do not treat our employees with the respect and the dignity and the humanity and the compassion that they deserve. And so the shift that I'm seeing is that COVID taught people how precious life is. Because I would say in our generation, okay, in anybody that experienced the 9/11 experience, which I, being on the West Coast, didn't experience it to the level, of course, that somebody on the East Coast did.
Right.
That would in my era, that's the closest to a truly traumatic environment that is like life-changing. So, the generation that I grew up with, we don't know, and again, I'm gonna say, unless you went through something like 9/11,
Mhm.
okay? We really don't know what true suffering is. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. There's a lot of us that don't, a naive person in this world. And so, COVID coming in and happening was the first to, are we going to be okay?
Mhm.
Are we going to be okay? I'm really scared. I was one of those in the very early stages where I was watching the news, taking photos of the ticker. I mean, I was over the top in it, and I had to eventually stop and be, Amy, we can't do, you're making yourself sick.
Yeah.
Just stop. And then I turned off the TV. And I was like, just do what you need to do to get yourself healthy. But my point is that that was a wake up call for a lot of people who just said, yeah, mm-mm, I'm just not going to put up with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, in addition, the gig economy. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many people. The entrepreneurial spirit right now is hot. It is really big. It is the wild west of so much new that's going on and branching out. And you don't have to ride somebody else's train. You can build your own train and ride that out, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think you're so right. I feel like COVID, post 9/11, I think we lived in a compassionate world for a short time. I think that those early days after 9/11 were when you saw people gather around and support each other and offer love. And I think we saw that during COVID too. I remember seeing videos of people in New York City clapping for the first responders. And that is it makes me want to cry just thinking about it now. Like there was so much love and appreciation and compassion and gratitude around that. And I think that that has really started to tilt the scales a bit into this place where people are going, wait a minute, wait a minute. We should be like this more often. Or to look at somebody who's suffering and go, they don't have to be suffering. We can help that person. We can help that group of people. We don't have to live in this space where people are not cared for. Or someone like Kowali's not cared for, where we can find this deep place of love for one another. And I think especially in this day and age, it can be really hard because the darkness sounds so much louder than the light,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. I love the way you said that. That's so beautiful. It's articulate. And, I said at the start, I was like, I choose gratitude. Like,
Mhm.
like, find the gratitude in this story. Right. And I think that that's such an important thing to do because just walking on this planet can be difficult. Right. And so to be able to stop and shift the perspective and say, okay, but where is the gratitude?
Mhm.
Because we can be pulled into the darkness if we allow
Mhm.
that to happen. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us where the Start with Compassion framework, how did you create well, you told us how you created it. How
Yeah.
do you put it to work in offices? Can you give us a peek inside what that looks like and how companies have used it to
Yeah.
shift pendulum a bit?
Yes, yes. So I actually had one company come to me and they said, we've got a lot of people this was last year. They said, we do DEI and B lunch and learns. And our employees have come to us and they've said, we've learned a lot from this, but can we step back a little bit and can you bring somebody in that can just talk to us about kindness? About just being kind. That's the B. That's the belonging. Yeah. And, we all want to know that we matter. And how do we help people know that we matter? By showing them, by telling them. And it can be so simple. Have you ever been like walked up to a circle of people talking and as you walk up, somebody shifts their body to make space for you to include you?
Mhm.
It's so minor, but how does that make you feel when somebody does that? How does that make you feel?
Quite literally, it makes me feel accepted. They've made space for me. I was laughing when you were saying that because I thought you were going to go the opposite direction because just even in my own neighborhood, I walked up to the bus stop with my son one time, and this group of women were standing there and they saw me and they turned their backs to me and closed the circle. And I got to tell you, I'm 44 years old. That took me right back to middle school. And I have not gotten over it. Every time I see those ladies, I'm like, gosh, why were they so mean? That was so unkind, you know? So when you walk over to somebody and they literally make room for you, that is just such a loving act, right? They don't, and I think that people are not aware always that that gentle opening for someone can create so much opportunity for them. So much.
So first I want to say I'm sorry that that happened. One, but two is when I see people show up like that, I'm like, you just simplified my life. Because we made it really clear. There's a whole bunch of other people at this bus stop, and that's where I'm going to spend my time. Just to use the whole Mel Robbins thing,
Let
let
them, yeah.
them. You go do your thing and have fun over there. I'm going to be okay over here. But at the same time, I'm really sorry that that happened.
Thank
Like, because that's it just never I know exactly what you mean. I know and it's a whole othering, right? It's a whole othering, and it's just I don't know.
It's icky. It's an
It is
icky
icky.
feeling.
That's exactly the word. It is icky. It is. It is. Yeah. But it's little things like that, right? And so the biggest thing was start with compassion, I would say, where I'm seeing the transformation is the awareness, right? In the A, okay, if we don't have the awareness of how we are showing up in the world, at work, with our family, with our friends, we're just going through life with blinders on and we're not aware of our impact to the people around us. That can be tough. It can be
Mhm.
tough for us. It can be tough for the people around us. Right. And so, if when leaders, when employees, when everybody stops and becomes aware of what they're doing and then gets curious, not judgmentally curious, not gotcha curious, but genuinely, compassionately curious of, "Mm, okay. And then accepting. So, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? Right? I think that's when the shift happens.
Mm.
But we've got to begin with having awareness. I want to take you back to your question because I want to make sure I answered it. Did I? Because I got off on this whole other thing. Did I answer your question?
I think you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, Amy. You go on a little horse ride there and down a trail and
Oh, oops. I do that too. And then I come back and I go, wait, where was I going? Okay, let me bring it back around. And let me land the plane.
I love it.
Oh, I love that. If somebody's listening now, the show is called Your Radiant Spirit. And I think finding compassion within ourselves helps us be radiant because we're not minimizing ourselves, or we're not, what's the word? Shrinking ourselves. We're allowing ourselves to be seen. If somebody's listening today and they are asking themselves, like, where do I even begin? Like, what is one small thing that they can do to start with compassion today?
Yeah. I love that question. Thank you. I would start with the first S. It is the single most critical component of the framework. Without the framework, it cannot hold. And that's silence the judger.
Ooh.
Silence the judger. How often do we say things to ourselves that we would never say to another being? We just wouldn't do it. How often do we find ourselves having judgment for the person across the bus stop from us,
Mhm.
across the street, across the planet from us? The reality is, we don't know their story. We do not know their story. And when we judge somebody, we are literally robbing them of their autonomy and making it about us because we're basing it on the little bit of information that we think we have about them or the situation. I think the best thing, the first thing that we can do is, I like to say, turn the volume down. If you notice yourself going into a judgmental state, just turn the volume down on that voice. Just like when you hear a song on the radio and you're like, I don't really like this song. Turn the volume down, change the station, choose better, different, other, whatever it is. But it's just not helpful when we go into a judgmental state.
That's so true. Critical. I think so many times we are judgmental of ourselves and we are judgmental of other people. And I love what you said about we're robbing them of their autonomy because we're making a snap judgment based on what we assume or think we know about someone. but we don't have the whole picture.
No.
Wow, that's really powerful. You are a best-selling author now. Tell us about your book, your contribution to a wonderful book that's just come out.
Yeah, thank you. So there is an anthology series. It's called Brave Women at Work. And there are three others that have already come out or that have been out for some time. Lessons in confidence, lessons in leadership, lessons in resiliency. Okay. So those three. And then just this month, last month,
Mhm.
somewhere recently where we are, launched the electronic version. And it's called Brave Women at Work Lessons in Letting Go. I authored a chapter in that. My chapter is called No More Hiding. It's the last chapter in the book. And I mean, I really talked about s- this framework
Mhm.
and everything that this framework helped me let go so that I could step into what I call the goodness. The thing is that so much of my chapter is that when we're holding on to a bunch of stuff from our past, when we're holding on to the regrets,
Mhm.
if we haven't forgiven ourselves or others, right? Things that are
Mhm.
preventing us from showing up as as a confident person, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're carrying around that's not ours,
Yep.
right? It's limiting beliefs other people planted in our head that we picked up, whatever. And I say, take off the pack, put it down, say thank you for this experience, learn what you need to, and walk away. Walk away. Let that go. Because when we do that, we're going to make room for the goodness. We're going
Mhm.
to make good room for the goodness, the love, and the light that's all around us. But if we're holding on to this, we're binding ourselves in protection. There's no room for that love and light to come through and shine. And we do have, we all have beautifully radiant spirits, right? And if we're hiding behind this, our spirit is struggling. It's like clouds. The
Mhm.
sun's trying to come through, but there's all these clouds. Just let the clouds blow by and let that sun shine through us.
I love that.
Mm.
I love that. Thank you. And tell us where people can find you and how they can work with you. And I think we
Yeah,
could be so lucky to get to work with you because you're brilliant and wonderful, and I just adore you.
you're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Well, and I have to say, I feel the same about you. All right. So my website, easy, startwithcompassion.com. There it is.
Bravo,
I'm
bravo.
Yeah, I'm all over social media, all the platforms, and it's the SWC with the hearts. It's the SWC. You type in Start with Compassion, look for the SWC icon with the heart. That's me. And, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of it. And then my podcast that I co host with Mark Carpenter, who's a master storyteller, that is Infuse Compassion it pardon me, the Infuse Compassion podcast, and we just launched that in March of this year, and we just had you on as a guest, and so that's gonna be airing soon. So, yeah, that's how you can find me, so hopefully you check us out. I do workshops, I do motivational talks, and I do compassionate coaching. So,
Amazing. I love too the SWC with the heart in it. I think that is, how could I say it? I just feel like any time we get an opportunity to share our hearts with one another and to show compassion, compassionate love to one another. I love that you have a heart in your work because I think that really showcases who you are, what you're all about, and how compassion can lead to more love out in the world, even in the workplace. It's okay to have a heart at work. It's okay. We have a lot of hard work to do. All of us do. We got to let go of the baggage. I love that. Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate you being here today, and I loved hearing about your story. I'd love to see a picture of Koali. I want your cookie recipe, all the things.
well, thank you. This was really special. Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm happy to share all of that with you.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. What's sticking with me is how compassion begins really on the inside. When we turn the volume down on judgment, we make room for awareness, acceptance, and action. I also loved Amy's reminder that culture is built in the tiny moments: how we listen, how we include, how we set boundaries and model being a human being at work. And that image of making room for the goodness, yes, please. If this conversation stirred something and you want a more personal way in, that's the heart of my 3-month therapeutic art journey. We use color, intuitive art, and gentle somatic tools to reveal what your body's been holding, release old patterns, and realign with who you're becoming. Every journey begins with a spirit portrait, and that is the painting that opens the map. To start, find me on Instagram at HeatherEckArtist and DM me the word compassion. You'll find my Instagram in the show notes too. Thank you so much for listening. If this helped, share it with a friend and tap follow so you don't miss what's next. Have a great week. Thank you for joining me today on Your Radiant Spirit. Every conversation here is an invitation to go beyond the surface, to listen to what your soul has been whispering, and to step into the life you've been longing for. If you're ready to go deeper, to work in a way that's personal, creative, and profoundly transformative, you'll find ways to connect with me in the show notes. Whether it's through art, a guided session, or a fully immersive journey, you'll discover a space where your truth is seen and your next chapter begins. If this episode spoke to you, it would mean the world if you shared it with a friend, left a review, or subscribed so more people can discover the conversations we have here. Until next time, my friend, keep noticing the colors, the moments, and the nudges. They're all leading you home. And for now, take a breath, hold on to what resonated, and carry it with you into the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.